Welcome. I'm Warren Odess-Gillette, and this is A Baha'i Perspective. Welcome to A Baha'i Perspective. On December 17th, 2024, I interviewed Mona Khademi. Mona works as an arts management consultant in Washington, D.C. Since the year 2000, Mona has researched about the life of Laura Clifford Dreyfus-Barney and has presented papers about her findings at Iranian and Middle Eastern study conferences, the Library of Congress, the Smithsonian Associates, and the Smithsonian National Portrait Gallery, as well as other public venues. She published several papers based on years of research, and then she published her biography of Laura Clifford Barney, entitled The Life of Laura Barney, in 2022. I started the interview by asking Mona what inspired her to study and write a biography about Laura Clifford Barney.
I think it was accidental. I learned about Laura Barney's home that she had inherited together with her sister Natalie Barney in the year 2000. And the house that they had inherited is in the same city and actually the same street as where I live. It's few blocks away from my home. This house was built by their mother, Alice Pike Barney, who was an artist. She has built this house as a studio for hers. And after she lost her husband, she moved into this house. This house was inherited to Laura and her sister in 1931 when her mother passed away. They took care of it. They rented it. They stayed in it whenever they came to Washington, D.C. And then in 1960, the two sisters donated the house to Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C. In the year 2000, they decided to sell the house because of its maintenance. And it was in that year that I learned that this house was being sold and the contents of the house were being auctioned. So I was interested to go and visit the house. And also I attended the auction of the items of the house. And my curiosity was to see if there are any documents, any letters, correspondence, important documents of Laura in that house. I knew that Laura Barney was a Baha'i. I didn't know much about her mother, and I know the items in the house, some of them were still the original furniture, the original documents of the house. So that's how I started my research in the year 2000.
So what you found in the house intrigued you enough to write the biography?
Actually, I didn't find anything at the house. So I became more interested. I was informed that the documents in the house were moved to Smithsonian Archives. That's where I started my research the following week, and it has since continued. I was asked in the year 2008 to write a paper to be given at a conference about the life of Laura Barney. I had shared the fact that I have done some research about her life. I gave that talk and I published 2 articles about her life. And the significance of 2008 is because it was the 100th anniversary of the publication of an important book that Laura Barney had compiled and published, which is Some Answered Questions. And I can talk about it later on.
Yes, I do have some questions about that. So can you tell us what was Laura's upbringing like in the latter half of the 19th century?
She was born in 1879 in Ohio, in Cincinnati. Her parents were married in Ohio in 1876, and the family lived in Ohio, and they moved to Washington, D.C. in 1889. Both her parents, her father and her mother, came from very well-to-do families. From her father's side, they were into railway business. Her mother's father was the owner of a whiskey distillery, and he was very well off. So they were quite rich. Their summer home was in Maine, and it had 26 bedrooms. The two girls, Natalie, the older sister, who was born in 1876, and Laura, who was born in 1879, had European governesses. And for part of her education, when they were young, they were sent to boarding school in France. And they were practicing Episcopalian. They attended church on Sundays.
So she stayed in Paris after going to boarding school?
She returned to Washington. As I said, her family had moved to Washington in 1889. She went to a private school in Washington, D.C. And then later on, her mother was pursuing her arts education, and her mother and the two daughters moved to Paris. And Laura was studying dramatic arts and sculpture in Paris around turn of the century.
Was it at that point that she stayed in Paris, or did she go back to DC again to live?
She was living in Paris in 1900, and that's when she heard about this spiritual leader from the East, whose name was Abdul Baha. He was the son of the prophet founder of the Baha'i faith, who was living in Akka. Actually, he was still in confinement under the Ottoman Empire. And then she heard it through a lady called May Bowles, who was among the first group of Western women who had gone on pilgrimage to meet Abdul Baha. When May Bowles returned to Paris, she held meetings in Paris, and Laura was in Paris at the time, and that's where she heard about the Baha'i faith.
And you had mentioned earlier that she compiled a book called Some Answered Questions, which were questions that she posed to Abdul Baha, the son of the prophet founder of the Baha'i faith. How did Laura handle the responses since Abdul Baha's native tongue was Farsi?
Laura heard about the Baha'i faith in the year 1900. She traveled to meet Abdul Baha that year. She returned again in 1901 and had stayed another few days. And it was during this second trip to Akka, Palestine, which is today's Israel. Abdul Baha asked her to accompany a Baha'i scholar to Paris and then later on to United States. His name was Abul Fazael. He was a Baha'i scholar of Muslim background. He was the most erudite scholar of the Baha'i faith at the time, and he was teaching in Egypt. So Laura accompanied him to Paris, of course, at that time with a translator. He stayed in Paris for several months, and then Laura accompanied him to United States. While in Paris and while in United States, Laura attended his classes, and most probably, she started learning Persian during this time. Abul Fazael stayed in the United States for over 2 years, and most of that time he was in Washington, D.C. And it was Laura and her mother, Alice Pike Barney, who paid for his expenses and travel and stay in Washington. So I assume that she started learning Persian at the time. And then in 1904, she traveled for the third time to visit Abdul Baha. This time she stayed much longer. She stayed until 1906. And besides maybe 2 or 3 short trips outside Akka, Palestine, she was with Abdul Baha and the Holy Family. And in a letter to her mother, she said, I'm taking lessons and I'm learning Persian. So she had started learning Persian. And it was during her third trip that she started posing questions to Abdul Baha. And the questions were posed by her, and Abdul Baha answered, and she compiled some answered questions in 1908. When she was asking questions, Still, her Persian was not perfect. There were some secretaries sitting at the table where she was sitting, and they were taking notes. So they were taking notes in Persian, and then she was writing them in English. And somebody was translating also. So that's how that book was compiled.
What other contributions did Laura make to the Baha'i faith in addition to compiling that book, Some Answered Questions?
Some Answered Question is her greatest accomplishment.
Hmm.
It was her greatest service to the Baha'i faith, and I believe it's a unique achievement because it was the questions of Laura and the answers by Abdul Baha. Abdul Baha read and approved every page of Some Answered Questions, and he used a seal of his that he used for his own writings. So that book, Some Answered Questions, became a sacred book. And it's a book that's compiled by Laura Barney, a woman. So it's a very important book. As I said, it's her greatest accomplishment. What else did she do? She helped with the education of Shoghi Effendi. She provided a tutor for him.
Who is Shoghi Effendi?
Shoghi Effendi is the grandson of Abdul Baha, who became the guardian of the Baha'i faith after Abdul Baha's passing. Laura also helped with the education of several people in Haifa. She taught English to the family of Abdul Baha. But next to Some Answered Questions, I believe her greatest achievement is the fact that she accepted three main principles of the Baha'i faith, and she devoted her long life. She lived for 94 years. She devoted her life to promoting these through her activities with some organizations. Those principles are the equality of men and women and the role of women in society, oneness of humanity, and world peace. Laura Barney became very active with the League of Nations after World War I. She became active with International Council of Women for several decades. She was their liaison with the League of Nations. And then after World War II, she became active with the United Nations. She served on many committees, peace building, disarmament, and education. And she was a tireless activist for these principles all her life.
And going back to Some Answered Questions, which you say is her greatest achievement, I recall that many of the questions she posed were on Christian topics like the Trinity and things like that. Do you recall some of the topics that were?
Exactly. They came from her Christian upbringing and Christian background. Yes, they covered many different aspects of Christianity. And besides those, she asked questions about soul,
Mhm.
faith, destiny, life after death. And she asked some philosophical and religious questions also.
Recently, an art exhibit was opened in the Smithsonian's National Portrait Gallery in D.C. entitled Brilliant Exiles: American Women in Paris. And among the exhibits of the 57 American expat women in Paris are artworks by Laura and her mother Alice Pike Barney, which you referred. Can you describe the exhibition for us?
Yes, I'm very excited about this exhibition. It opened last April 2024, and it will continue until February 2025. It covers very interesting American women who went to Paris between 1900 to 1939, right before Second World War. And there, as you said, there are artworks by Laura's mother, Alice Pike Barney. There are about three or four of her works, and there is one work of Laura Barney. One of the works by Alice Pike Barney is a drawing of hers, is a pastel drawing of Laura, which is the cover of the biography of Laura. And I know the curator, and she said that she was inspired by the cover of the biography, and she decided to use that painting in the exhibition. You know, the painting of Laura, which is called titled Attentive Laura, is done by her mother, and it's the only wall text that's in the exhibition that talks about the spirituality of the person. All the other women in that exhibition, Brilliant Exiles, they talk about their artistic endeavors and their other cultural activities. The only one that has spirituality as the most important part is that of Laura Barney. And also, the artwork of Laura, which is a bust of her sister, is very interesting. I had seen one or two of her sculptures before, but didn't know that there are more. And the fact that this bust is included is very important because now she can also be considered an artist.
Now, what can you tell us about Laura's mother, Alice?
Alice was a philanthropist, she was an artist, and she was a cultural ambassador of the arts in Washington, D.C. She did a lot in Washington, D.C., and as a matter of fact, I have given several talks at public libraries about Laura and her mother's contributions to arts and culture in Washington, D.C. She was eccentric, she had a very interesting life. She lost her husband in 1902. She was still very young. She remarried a much younger man. They were married for several years and then they were divorced. She moved from Washington to Hollywood and she continued her artistic endeavors in Los Angeles. She opened a theater. She had a ballet at a Hollywood ball, and she passed away in 1931 at a place that she loved at a concert.
Hmm. Interesting. So Laura had an older sister, Natalie, who also lived in Paris. Is that true?
Yes,
A-
that's true.
And what can you
Um,
tell us about her?
you know, I am the biographer of Laura Barney. When I started my research, I tried to concentrate on Laura's life. I had read three biographies of Natalie, but I wanted to concentrate on Laura's biography. But then as I moved onward, I realized that they had a very special relationship. They both lived in Paris. Laura was married in 1911 to a French man who was the first French man who had become a Baha'i in Paris. His name was Hippolyte Dreyfus. They had an amazing life of service and travels from 1911 until 1928 when he passed away. So from then on, Laura was on her own and they didn't have any children. And Natalie was living in Paris as well. Natalie is homosexual. Natalie wasn't married, didn't have children. She had many affairs. She was a very interesting person. She held literary salons in Paris for 5 or 6 decades, and the who's who of the literary of the world attended her Friday evening salons. So they had selected two different lives, and that made the relationship a little difficult. But still, for Laura, the most important person to her after the passing of her husband and her mother was her sister. So at times it was difficult relationship, and I have covered Natalie for a good amount in the book because of the special relationship they had. And when Laura passed away in 1974, she had asked to be buried in the same plot as her sister in Paris.
So, Mona, tell us a little about yourself. Where did you grow up, and what's your relationship with the Baha'i faith?
I was born in Iran. I was educated in the capital in Tehran and then in Shiraz. And then I was educated in Paris, France. Then I went to school for my PhD degree in England. Then I moved to United States, West Coast, and then to the East Coast. I have studied different fields, and currently I work as an arts management consultant in Washington, D.C. And my Baha'i background, I come from a Baha'i family. My parents were Baha'is. My grandparents, both my grandmothers were Muslim. My grandfathers, one of them was of Jewish background who had become a Baha'i. The other one was of Muslim background who had become a Baha'i. So I was raised in a Baha'i family.
Well, Mona, I want to thank you so much for sharing about Laura Clifford Barney and your biography of her entitled The Life of Laura Barney. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I hope you enjoyed that interview with Mona Khademi, author of the biography The Life of Laura Barney. You can find this interview and other interviews on the website abahaiperspective.com and on the YouTube channel of Baha'i Perspective. You can find the podcast on Spotify and iTunes. For information specifically on the Baha'i Faith, you can go to the website baha'i.org, or you can call the number 1-800-22-UNITE. I hope you'll join me next time on A Baha'i Perspective.
In the eye of the storm, all is quiet. Here I am all alone. I see you through the plexiglass, reach in and lead me home. What do you want? She said, to know in my heart that God loves me. Can't you pick something less daunting? He said, love me that I may love thee. Love me that I may love thee. If thou lovest me not, my love can in no wise reach thee. If thou lovest me not, my love can in no wise reach thee. I probably should be angry with you. I know I should be angry with you. Probably should be angry with you. But I see me in you. Hand of God or hand of man or love of God or love of you. Glasses. It's gotten them confused. He said, love me that I may love thee. Love me that I may love thee. If thou lovest me not, my love can in no wise reach thee. If thou lovest me not, my love can in no wise reach thee. Oh God, forgive me. He said, turn thy sight unto thyself. Turn thy sight unto thyself, that thou mayest find thee standing within thee. He said, turn thy sight unto thyself, that thou mayest find me standing within lovest me not, my love can in no wise reach thee. He said, love me that I may love thee, love me that I may love thee. If thou lovest me not, my love can in no wise reach thee. If thou lovest me not, my love can in no wise reach thee.
In the garden of thy heart, plant not but the rose of love, and from the nightingale of affection and desire, loosen not thy hold. Oh, my friend, oh, my friend, in the garden of thy heart, plant not but the rose of love, and from the nightingale of affection and desire, loosen not, loosen not, loosen not thy hold.
When you're sitting in the dark, looking at the stars, I feel your love surrounding me. So I'll send a little sign to show you I'm fine. Many things are real that we can't see. Will you miss me? I'm not that far. You can't touch me, but you feel my heart. This bird has burst its cage asunder, eyes wide and filled with wonder. Think of me and feel a little breeze. That's me, that's me, that's me, that's me. I know some might say I was taken away and ask how this can be just or fair. But these mysteries abound. Well, I'm not lost but found, and my hope is that you won't despair. Well, you miss me, I'm not that far. You can't touch me, but you feel my heart. An eagle flies overhead, that song I sing gets in your head. You get inspired and ask, how can this be? That's me, that's me, that's me, that's me. And when that day comes, when you're born to this world eternal, you will find me in an ocean of light. From the highest peaks we'll gaze on what no pen can describe. So that's it from here. Now you know I'm near. As well I'm in great company. So from time to time I'll drop you a line. Soon begins our sweet eternity. Well, you miss me, I'm not that far. You can't touch me, but you feel my heart. This bird has burst its cage asunder, eyes wide and filled with wonder. Think of me and feel a little breeze. Oh, think of me, feel a little breeze. That's me, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's me. That's me.
He was born on the 20th of October, 1819. The place was Shiraz in Iran. A place where God would rest his cradle for all to see. A place where God would rest his cradle.
I am
He came to prepare the people for the glory of God. And he said, I am, I am, I am, I am the promised one. I am, I am, I am, I am the gate of God. I am, 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 I am the gate of God. His life was so short-lived. He was martyred at 31. And for those who didn't believe, his sufferings would become like the sun. And he said, I am, I am, I am, I am the promised one. I am, I am, I am, I am the gate of God. I am, I am, I am, I am the promised one. I am, I am, I am, I am the gate of God. I am the gate of God. I am the gate of God. I am the gate of God.
Yup, yup. This love was meant to be. Heaven sent for me. Yup, 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 yup.
Yo, at the time, I wasn't even looking for love. All the times before, left my heart feeling rough. Each time I was self-destruct, but this time got a little help from above. Hey, first time we met, you caught my eye, but the spark didn't catch. I won't lie, just friends for a while, till that one night you agreed to be my Valentine. Started digging underneath the surface. Our seed of love germinated in the soil of service. Conversation started getting deeper, talking God, religion, and the spirit. I should've known you were a keeper, but then I got cold feet, wasn't ready to commit, so I started to retreat. I was acting like a fool, staying busy trying to fight my fate. You told my aunt that I was worth the wait, dang. So I pulled it together, got back on track. I thank God that you took me back. Then we walked the path, study circles, pondering the word of God. Your heart was pure, embraced Baha'u'llah. As you caught the flame, I was reignited, till then just a Baha'i name. You brought me back to my destiny, and for that I owe you eternally. We stayed serving, praying and meditating, sailing through the ups and downs, persevering through the test, bending but never breaking. Told me you were ready to tie the knot, but I wasn't, and then I received a sign from God to give me the courage that I needed. I finally heeded, got our parents' blessings, got the ring, popped the question, you couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it, the search for my soulmate completed. You are the one for me, the only one I need. You are my everything. This love was meant to be, heaven sent for me. Hey, hey, yeah. You are the one for me, the only one I need. You are my everything. This love was meant to be, heaven sent for me. I loved you before we even met. I love you even though we never ever met. Me and your mom were ready to take the next step. After we agreed, thought we'd be set. But life doesn't always work that way. Sometimes God decides he's gonna test your faith. Month after month passed, waiting on the good news, but it didn't come. Feeling bummed, you were still in queue. What your mom was going through took a toll on my heart, but I always knew you were gonna come from the start. Then we took a trip to a special place, 7,000 miles away. Pilgrimage to the Gebla, praying for direction at that holy spot as we bowed our heads and our spirits to Baha'u'llah, calling on him and the Bab and Abdul Baha, all the holy family to bless us with a family. Couple months passed, still patiently waiting. It had been a year since we started trying. I could feel the hope fading. And then one night your mom woke up in pain. Took her to the ER, what we heard was insane. The doctor said your mom was pregnant, you were still microscopic. Then they told us you were also ectopic. Went from joy to grief, your life on earth so brief. Felt like fate stole you like a thief. Had to learn contentment with God's will, it was a tough pill. But I know you're in a better place. We had to separate, but I know I'll see your face one day. And I know that you helped open the way for your baby brother. So I'm still feeling blessed, hope I'm up for the test. You know I love you both, two sons, one love. Looking out for one in this world with an angel up in the next. You are the one for me, the only one I need. You are my everything. This love was meant to be, heaven sent for me. Hey, hey, yeah. You are the one for me, the only one I need. You are my everything. This love was meant to be, heaven sent for me. I was created to know thee, worship thee, love thee. It's a lovely vision. Wasn't always 20/20, I was lacking precision to the guidance that you had given. Now I humbly listen. I know I'm programmed to love, not a myth. Didn't always love the right things. I plead the fifth, going forward in my life, looking with my third eye on a search, giving every second up to God to put him first and let the rest just fall into place. But it's hard to make my deeds match my words. So many things to chase, even when I mess up, wholly deprived of your grace. And it's hard to fess up, utterly powerless to praise. Through your bounty my hope is restored. You have never left my side, always there to be my guide. Give my heart to you forevermore. The only reason that I have a chance to love thee is that you love me. You are the one for me, the only one I need. You are my everything. This love was meant to be, heaven sent for me. Hey, hey, yeah. You are the one for me, the only one I need. You are my everything. This love was meant to be, heaven sent for me. Yeah, you are the one for me, the only one I need. You are my everything. This love was meant to be, heaven sent for me. Hey, hey, yeah, you are the one for me, the only one I need. You are my everything. This love was meant to be, heaven sent for me.
Created me a pure heart, oh my God, oh my God, and renew a tranquil conscience within me, oh my hope. Through the spirit of power, confirm thou me in thy cause, and by the light of thy glory reveal unto me thy path. Let thine everlasting melodies breathe tranquility on me, and let the riches of thine ancient countenance deliver me from all except thee.
Through the power of thy transcendent might, lift me up, unto the heaven of thy holiness. Whoa, source of my being, and by the breezes of thine eternity, ancient countenance, deliver me from all except thee.
Remember my days during the days, my distress and banishment in this remote prison. And be thou so steadfast in my love that thy heart shall not waver. Even if the swords of the enemy
Computer wants to update a program. I always click on try again tomorrow, 'cause that's not what I need. The garden wants a weeding, the summer's almost over. I haven't got around to planting the seeds. What have I been waiting for all this time? What am I complaining for? The fault's all mine. I could cross that bridge if someone else would pay the toll. But won't somebody send an update to my soul?
phone it wants to update the system, but I don't really trust it. It usually ends up slower than before. The politicians never stop campaigning. One day we're gonna bust them. We're capable of so much more. What have I been waiting for all this time? What am I complaining for? The fault's all mine. I'm sitting here just waiting for my youth to come again. I'll stop procrastinating, but don't ask me when. I could cross that bridge if someone else would pay the toll. But won't somebody send an update to my soul? I wanna feel you love me more than ever. I know I don't deserve it. I'm not the man I was back then. Skinnier and brighter and more hopeful. Is that the way you want me? I'm not sure if I can be that again. What have I been waiting for all this time? What am I complaining for? The fault's all mine. I'm sitting here just waiting for my youth to come again. I'll stop procrastinating, don't ask me when. I could cross that bridge if someone else would pay the toll. But won't somebody send an update to my soul? Should you ever lose your sense of wonder, walk out to the ocean and sing out to the stars on high. And all the generations gone before you will hear you from the heavens, but help you if you'd only try. What have we been waiting for all these hours? What are we complaining for? The remedy's ours. We're sitting here just waiting for our youth to come again. We'll stop procrastinating, we can choose just when. We can cross that bridge, and only we can pay the toll. Yes, only I can make an update to my soul. Only I can make an update to my soul.
I wear purple underwear 'cause I think it's cool. I eat vegetables for breakfast and walk backwards to school. I love to be original, some say I'm a fool, but unconventionality's my number one rule. For I am one of a kind, I am one of a kind. And though some people tease me, I just pay them no mind. My savoir-faire will save me when I get in a bind. For I am one of a kind. Our teacher of philosophy referred to his chair. He said, "You must write a composition proving it's there." A clever girl beside me wrote with gumption and flair. Her essay had 2 words and all it said was, "What share?" Oh, she is one of a kind. She is one of a kind. She has a way with any classwork she is assigned. At the rate she's going, she might leave the teacher behind. For she is one of a kind. Now it's your turn. That means you. one more thing to say to you. Listen up. When you finish school and seek your fortune and fame, you will meet some older folks who think exactly the same. Fitting in, they'll tell you, is the name of the game. But if you ask me, I will certainly proclaim that you are one of a kind. You are one of a kind. They broke the mold and cheered right after you were designed. Inside that brain of yours, you never know what you'll find. If you march to the beat of your own drum, who knows who you'll become? You could be Chopin, Freud, and Gandhi combined. For you are. You know what I'm trying to say? Step right up, ladies and gentlemen. Introducing the new, improved, totally unique, extra special you. You see and do things unlike anybody else. Yes, you can wear orange bell-bottoms at the high school prom. Be yourself. Go ahead. Tell that motorcycle gang to get a haircut. Don't be afraid. And be proud that your mother wears army boots. She's one of a kind, and so are you. And don't let anyone else tell you any different. If they do, send them to me. I'll straighten them out. I'll say to them, do you know who you're referring to? That's no ordinary person. He knows who she is, what he wants, and where she's going.